Welcome back to I'm Still Here. I'm Larry.
And I'm Heather. In 1998, at the age of 26, I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. It changed everything for us, but I'm still here.
Yes, you are.
We're starting off by laughing about camera angles again.
Our lack of technology.
We had it good for so long, and now
then you ruined it. What'd you do?
Got a new phone. The new phone is like
new technology. Old people. Bad mix.
Bad mix.
Yep.
Well, it is a beautiful day here today in Michigan. We've had sunshine 2 days in a row, which for people who don't live in Michigan might not understand, but we don't get that in the winter.
No,
so we're really enjoying it. But I was kind of looking back through some of the things we've talked about lately and some of the things we haven't in a while, and I thought maybe today we would talk a little bit about exercise and cancer. So I just wanted to start out by saying that I look at exercise as a way to keep my body healthy and happy, not necessarily that it specifically is going to be killing cancer, but just trying to make an optimal, kind of the best environment I can for my body to work well.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. So, you know anything about exercise?
Yeah, this is something I actually do, and here's the worst part. It's similar to eating right, in that it sucks if you're doing it right. It's hard. Exercise is hard. And if it's not hard, you're not getting the benefits of it. And I don't mean that, you got to throw 500 pounds on there, lift it, or run 10 Ks a day. No, I'm talking about what you're doing. Whatever you're doing, you have to do it to the extent that it's difficult if you want the benefits from it.
If you want to make gains.
So, yeah, I mean, you can go for a walk. Or you can walk where your heart rate's elevated and you're starting to breathe harder. Then you're getting the benefits of cardiorespiratory endurance. If you're just walking, that's not bad. That's not a negative thing. But if you're looking to walk for the purpose of getting those benefits, you got to push yourself. It's called the overload principle. And we tend to not do that. Why? Because it's hard.
Okay, so let's talk about that in terms of a lot of people have been talking about zone 2 exercise lately, which is kind of about having your heart rate in a space where you can still have a conversation. People should be able to tell that you're working out. Like if I was on the phone with you and walking, you should be able to tell kind of by the way I'm breathing that I'm walking or whatever. For some people it could be running, honestly. But just that there's a benefit to not that really high overload consistency to that. So
there's a benefit to movement.
Sure.
Period.
Okay.
And there is a bell curve to this, especially as you get older, where the harder you push it, you can start doing damage.
Yeah.
You can injure yourself, and then you're back to square one. You won't be able to do any exercise. So there is a bell curve to this. But is it true that zone 3, if we're using zones, I have no idea what these zones are.
That's just based on heart
Is it
rate.
true that you could get more benefits from zone 3? The answer has to be yes. But will zone 3 injure you? Well, then exercise in zone 2. You have to know your own body. And, a workout program should also be a somewhat of a curve.
Yeah.
You shouldn't open up on day 1
right.
doing what you're doing on day 30. That's just, your body's not ready for that.
Right.
So that's my opinion on that.
Okay.
But it's based on a lot of years and experience.
So I was going to say, the first thing I thought about was get rid of I can't. So there is a certain amount of, like you said, just movement is good for us.
Yes.
So we can't go, I don't feel like, especially as somebody who is dealing with cancer, you can't, it isn't helpful to just think, well, I can't run, so I'm not going to do anything. Or I can't do this, right? It's kind of like, what can you do? And like that old saying, if you can't, run, then walk. And if you can't walk, then crawl. Like, what can you do?
Move.
And move, right? So movement of any kind is going to be better than no movement, right?
Absolutely. So there's 3 principles in this. There's the overload principle, the progression principle, and the principle of specificity. The overload principle just states kind of like what I said before, is you can go for a walk, or you can walk with a purpose and try to elevate your heart rate and respiration so you get more benefits of that. And I think we can all understand that one. The progression principle is basically just a principle that states, okay, once you feel comfortable with that, you got to move to the next level. And you got to then, and if you keep upping your level, you're matching it with what your body can withstand, and you're now getting new benefits of that. I tend to not do that, especially when it comes to cardiorespiratory endurance. I hate running. Hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. Just running from point A to point B or A to back to B. It's mind numbing to me. I would rather do anything else in this world. But I also know for one of the jobs that I do, I have to do that. I have to be able to have a basic level of cardiorespiratory endurance in order to do my job well. So I do it. But what I tend to do is, run 2 miles and it takes me 17 minutes to run 2 miles when I first start out my program. And 2 months into it, I'm still running those 2 miles at 17 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the progression principle and improve on that because I hate it.
Again, can I just say 17 minutes for 2 miles to me is like I will never get there.
What is that? That's 2 miles.
8.5-minute miles.
Yeah, I probably couldn't do that.
I would be like jumping for joy if I could get back to a 10-minute
whatever
mile.
number it is. The number that when we haven't worked out and we go out there and we actually use the overload principle and try hard, whatever that number is should not be your number a month into your program. Or you're not actually using the overload principle and pushing yourself to a zone 2 level or a zone 3, whatever that is. It doesn't matter. If you're moving and you're in this zone 2, your body is going to improve. Your heart rate and respiration are going to become more efficient.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Say you are in treatment, kind of active treatment. So every 3 weeks you're getting hit with some more chemo or whatever. That could also, I would guess, make that progression go a lot slower, right?
Absolutely.
And again, like the goal with that maybe just be some sort of maintenance of any type of activity, right?
And we all have to know ourselves.
Right.
Whether you're in treatment or not, people can only do what their body allows them to do.
Right.
Because you can injure yourself or you could kill yourself or you could do some damage where you're worse off than not. Right. You got to know your body, and you've got to get opinions from people who actually do know and have done physicals on you and know your heart, and is your heart healthy enough to do certain things, or your lungs, are they healthy enough? I'm just throwing out blanket, general things about physical fitness.
Okay,
there's much more to it than that.
Sure. So you talked about 2 different principles so far, I think. Go ahead.
The third principle,
the
principle of specificity, which kind of has 2 different definitions. If you decide, because I believe, and I've mentioned this before, if you're starting a workout program, you got to have goals and accountability.
Yep.
Those 2 things are a must, or you will not last a week.
Yeah.
Goals and accountability. Well, let's say your goal was to jog a 10K. Okay? The principle of specificity would state your training needs to be specific to achieve that right there.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and if you have a goal of accomplishing something physical, well, the principle of specificity would say, well, you know what? Spend a lot more time jogging and walking than, or doing any cardio thing than you would lifting weights.
Right.
Because that's what you're trying to achieve. That's one type of definition. The other definition of this is kind of the opposite. If we just want to be better physically fit, there's really, there's cardiorespiratory endurance, there's muscular endurance, flexibility, and muscular strength. So those 4 categories there that we want to improve on. If you're terrible in one of those, kind of a 10-to-1 scale, if you're terrible in any of those 4 categories, your overall fitness is lacking. And it will affect the other ones. If you're terrible in one of those, it will affect the other ones negatively. So the principle of specificity in that sense says work the areas that you're the worst at the most. None of us want to do that.
No.
We do not
No, we
want to
don't.
go, well, what do I hate
What
the
am
most?
I really
and what
bad at? Let me do that.
Let me do that the most. So it's a really hard one. That's why, when you're on an athletic team, or that's what your coach makes you do.
Yeah.
When you're doing that, that's what somebody makes you do. When you have a coach online and you're in this fitness program, that person's making you do something you really don't want to, and that's the only reason you're probably doing it. Is they're encouraging you or making you to do that. So kind of two different areas of principle of specificity. As you get older, we often aren't on a team or playing a sport or anything like that.
Right.
So it's more just what are the areas that we need to work on because we're really bad at it. Versus, if you don't mind jogging, that's probably going to be a big part of your workout.
Yeah.
I don't mind lifting weights. I like
either.
lifting weights. So I do that almost exclusively now. And I wait to the bitter end when I know, okay, I've got my football season coming up. I have got to get in shape, and that's when I go out and do.
Then you start running.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So I
So
feel
all
like
of that.
I feel like we can make it super complicated, but we also just need to
It's
make
not.
it easy. Like
It is
we need
not
to make it
complicated.
simple, not
Yes.
easy, right? And that's kind of like with anything, simple, not easy. When I think about working out, I think about like cardio, strength, and balance.
Or flexibility,
which
too.
is also
Yeah.
flexibility, I guess.
Yep.
I think the word balance comes into play more with me because I'm a therapist, and I've seen so often that a fall can really change, the trajectory of your life. So
Balance is really muscular strength and muscular endurance, depending on what the balance you're doing.
okay.
Truthfully, where it
Sure,
would fall into
that would make
Yeah.
sense.
Yep.
I mean, I would think the better you are at all of those things, or the more your body is used to reacting and doing those kind of things, the better the reaction would be, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's really easy to go, oh, I have to do this, but I don't know how, or you kind of make it so big in your head that it's like, it's going to take me an hour and a half to do this every day, or
Oh, gosh,
whatever,
no.
right? And one of the things that I've learned over time is like, no, 10 minutes, I can get some good lifting done in 10 minutes,
I do a program right now where I do 1,000 reps in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That is my program. And in 30 minutes, I can be done working out. And I have gotten 1,000 reps. And that is basically a complete body workout for me in 30 minutes. And it kicks my butt. And I couldn't do it in the beginning. I absolutely couldn't do it. And I adjust my weight based on how I feel and where I'm at in the program. And I try to remember the progression principle. So each week I do one more rep, or I up the weight a little bit because I keep that in my head. I gotta keep going up, but just by a little.
Yep.
Why? Because I'm 52.
Yeah.
And my body cannot handle at 32 what I could do.
Yeah.
So, but it's all endurance. And I think for people that are over the age of 40, honestly, your workout should be almost solely focused, unless you're just a freak, almost solely focused on cardiorespiratory endurance and muscular endurance.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not discounting flexibility. Those are part of, I think, just always they need to be in balance. But the actual things you do need to be endurance-based, because our bodies stop allowing us to do that truly muscular strength, heavy weight. Our bodies don't like that anymore. It can be a part of it, but you got to be careful there. That's where injuries happen.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that, but I also feel like women especially are so programmed to be like, oh, get a 2-pound weight.
I'm not talking about that.
But
No, I mean, it's more the number of reps that you can handle, and whether, just pick an exercise, a squat, and you're doing dumbbell squats. Well, yes, you could do it with a 2.5 pound, but the number of reps that you can do. I'll bet you with 20-pound dumbbells in your hands, you can still do 20 reps. Well, that's a muscular endurance. If you ever get to the point of feeling the burn, it is no longer muscular strength. It's muscular endurance now. whatever exercise you're doing. If we're talking about curls, yes, you could use 2.5 pounds, but can you do 15 to 20 with 10 pounds in your hand? Yeah, the answer is yes. So you're not applying the overload principle. So that can still be endurance, and you apply the overload principle. I can do curls with 45-pound dumbbells.
Right.
I'm not doing it anymore because the next day it really hurts my tendons. I'll be honest. I feel it in my tendons, and I go, my body's just telling me something there.
Right.
I'd much rather use 25-pound dumbbells, but right now I'm doing 29 reps every time I do it 5 times in that 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And my body the next day goes, okay.
Yeah.
And you got to listen. You got to. And
no,
by the way, if you're just starting out, everything's going to hurt.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. But I'm also saying, I think from a women's perspective, we tend to go so light sometimes that like if I'm flinging, my arms for bicep curls.
Then what aren't you doing? What principle are you not applying? The overload principle.
The overload principle.
These 3 principles, they go hand in hand with each other, and we've got to understand each one. You can't just go through the motions. That's the overload. You gotta push yourself a little.
Yeah.
Whether that's muscular strength or endurance or cardio, you gotta push yourself to get the benefits of it. Second progression. Once I feel good about that, and my body's like, it's getting kind of easy. You've got to up it a little,
and that can
tiny bit. Yes.
That can be a rep. It can
one rep for me a week.
Yeah.
One rep a week. That's what it is for me.
Yeah.
One more push up. One more curl. One.
Yes.
Okay. And I learned that lesson the hard way, is doing it wrong. And as well as anybody, I would start to feel strong, start to feel good. I'd injure something, and I'd be out for 8 months because I'd have to have a surgery because I pushed it way too hard. Have to have a surgery, then recover from surgery, and then work my way back. And it was a year later by the time I got back to the point. Yeah. And it was just, I was done with that cycle, so I just went to all endurance. Yeah. I do not do muscular strength. I don't lift heavy things. Those days are over. Yeah. And that keeps me healthy. Yeah. I feel great now.
All right.
Sorry. This is what I do.
You do. There's a lot to it. I think for me though, like I've been lifting. I've been lifting heavier. To me that is, like I'm doing, for lower body, I'm doing deadlifts, I'm doing squats, and I'm doing lunges. Those are my lower body exercises. I tend to do I'm doing about 30 pounds, 2 dumbbells worth of that, so 60 pounds for the deadlift and the squats. Lunges, honestly.
How many reps are you doing?
I'm doing like 2 sets of 10. So
10 is the borderline for muscular strength and endurance, but on that 8th, 9th, 10th rep, are you feeling the burn a little bit? Then it's endurance. You're doing an endurance workout.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
That's awesome.
So I'm doing.
And in the next day, does your body yell at you?
No.
Then it's perfect.
Yeah.
You're for sure getting the benefits of that. You're doing an endurance workout, which our muscles tend to handle a little bit better, and you're improving. Now you just gotta, each week do another rep, or each 3 weeks you add 5 pounds, or you don't jump up.
Well, and so the other thing I was going to say with that is, like with lunges just kick my butt. Even with no weight. Like, okay.
Literally.
Even, so sometimes I do them with weight, sometimes I don't. But I am always tired by the time I've done 10 on each side. So,
one of the hardest things, and I do a challenge every day in the weight room for the kids. And they don't have to do it, but in the last 15 minutes class, I put something on the board. If you want to do this, it's 3 points extra credit. Okay. And it becomes kind of a competition. But one of the things we do is 150 air squats. And the kids are like,
what's an air squat?
Just your body.
Oh, okay.
Literally just your body, but you got to get to parallel to the floor.
Yeah.
And they got to be proper technique.
Yeah.
Got to lock your back into place, butt first, moving down, and back up. And the kids are like, go ahead and try it.
No,
you want to not walk the next day?
Injuries.
No. But it's strictly an endurance. You're using only your body weight and doing air squats.
Yeah.
No dumbbells, no counterweight of any kind. And it is so hard.
Yeah.
It goes from, good. And you can even take breaks with this. I let them take breaks. They got to do it in 15 minutes. And it is so hard. So just as an example, you don't need a lot of weights to make something difficult and
No.
get the benefits of that.
Well, that's one thing I was going to say too. Is this doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, there's for most people that are especially trying to get in shape, you can use your body weight
100%.
100%. So that's I feel like we tend to complicate things. Oh, if I'm going to work out, then I have to go to the gym, or
We
I have
Google
to do this,
and we
or
say,
do
oh,
all
they're
this.
using this, or we see on a program,
Right.
and we buy that.
Right.
You know?
But you don't have to.
You don't.
And you can get a lot of benefits from, again, I think about like squats. Obviously, we were just
Buy
talking
resistance
about,
bands.
There's so many
Cheap.
things. A plank is a really good exercise. It requires no equipment. Right.
Do the side planks too.
Side planks too. That's one thing that I really lost a lot of strength in over time. And
Not your fault. Well, you literally lost that muscle.
Yeah, when you take part of your latissimus dorsi and
Yeah.
you bring it around to the front, it does change things a bit. But again, it doesn't mean I can't work on it. So I tend to think, I'm kind of going back to what I do. I tend to kind of think about upper, lower, and core. Those are
Good.
kind of my three areas that
That's
I think
perfect.
about. And sometimes I do them all on the same days, and sometimes I don't. I'm not a super rigid person. Some people really need things to be rigid. I kind of look at, I want to work those two groups, or those groups at least 2 times a week, and I'm sure I could do it more than that, but that's kind of where I'm at.
That's great. No, that if I would even advise somebody, that is absolutely perfect. If you can work a muscle group twice a week, that's what you need, right? That you will improve. You will see improvement week to week if you are using the overload
Yeah.
principle in that workout in any way,
Yeah.
whether it be muscular strength or muscular endurance.
Yeah.
You will see improvement. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
And in my workout, I use 2 dumbbells. My entire workout,
Yeah.
I use my own body weight for almost all of it, and I use dumbbells.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You don't need a weight room. I'm lucky
No.
to be in one, and guess what I use? 2 dumbbells.
Well, and that's it too. So for me, I mean, we did purchase the Bowflex, the adjustable weight ones, and those work good for me. But I travel. I've been staying in hotels, and most of them have some dumbbells, so I can just get enough that way,
And I don't even need dumbbells. I can get a resistance band.
Yeah.
You know, the stretchy resistance band. You can go online, and this is one of those things, Amazon, and for a couple of bucks, buy a stretchy band.
Yeah.
And you can do almost
Stretchy
every
resistance.
lift. When it's a lift, it's a resistance with that,
Yeah.
and you're getting a great workout.
Yeah. So, and then I will just say I try to add in things like walking. I try to walk as much as I can throughout my day. My current job, I sometimes get to walk at lunch, and I love that because for me, there are days that I go out for a walk or I get on a treadmill and walk, kind of like to really get my heart rate up there. But anytime I'm walking and moving, that's again right.
It's a bonus.
It's a bonus.
For sure.
So, for people who track their steps and things like that, I try to be 7,500 a day if I can. But I mean, I think you get that every day probably,
A lot of days.
just because you have long hallways
I do.
to walk down. But I look at that as if I'm on the phone and talking to somebody, can I be walking around? I like to walk and talk, or I find with a lot of my friends when I will say, hey, let's meet and go for a walk. Like that just feels really good to me in terms of getting it in that way. Then one thing, we were actually just talking about this yesterday, but one of the things that you kind of, the way you do your workout, you go from one thing to the other. When I'm doing my lower body, especially, I kind of rest in between, or sometimes I do an upper and a lower. But if I have some rest time, I will throw in things like, just standing on one leg and really kind of working on some of that balance stuff. And again, not super long, but
So that's where the efficiency part of me is. I wanted to have 1,000 reps in 30 minutes. In order to do that, I'm resting a muscle group while I'm working another one.
Right. Yep.
You don't. I don't. If these muscles are really tired here in my arm,
Right.
I can now work my legs, and these are
Yes.
recovering. But yet, I'm not just sitting there on the bench hanging out.
Right.
I
Right.
like that. Just go
Right.
for me. That
Right.
works for me.
But sometimes,
but maybe not for you. That
yeah,
you don't have to do
exactly.
that.
You can do different things with that. You can just
If
rest.
you've got an hour and a half to work out every day, you can
Have
fill
at
that
it.
time. I don't.
Yeah. I think the other thing I was going to talk about a little bit was just like time of day. So this is, I kind of have various thoughts on that. Obviously, I know in my life that sometimes my day kind of gets hijacked, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I work out earlier in the day, I've got it done for the day and great. But also when I think about me and how my body works, I don't want to work out early in the morning. I don't feel that great at working out early in the morning. So I yes, part of it is do what works for you. But
Yep.
if you know that you're not going to have time, it's probably better to get it done early, you know? Because it's
Not probably.
it's definitely better.
It's 100%
right?
better.
You know, I think as I've got...
Because you're not going to do it.
Because you're not going to do it. I mean, if you know that you are going from, you know, work to a kid game to a dinner to a whatever, you're going to talk yourself into it at 9 o'clock that night. Like, good luck, you know.
No,
so
and just physiologically, it is better. I mean,
Yeah.
to get your body running early in the morning. I'm working out in the mornings now, and I'm not a morning person. You know that. And it's been fine for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I think, again, you just have to give yourself a little bit of grace of, you know what, maybe it's not as great of a workout as you'd have at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever, but it's better than no workout.
well, I would say
by
this
100%.
compared to an afternoon workout where you've been going all day and
Yeah.
you're kind of warmed up.
Right.
Incorporate a warm up into a morning exercise.
That's a good idea.
Do something easier that doesn't burst the bubble, that you can kind of ease your way into it. Just get a heart rate up a little bit,
Yeah.
or just a little bit of sweat going with something easy, like
Yeah.
just easy.
It can be marches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
then
marches.
start your workout. It'll wake you up a little bit more, so you'll be ready to go, and then you get used to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can keep it really simple and do the same things over and over. You can add things
can.
in. You
Yeah.
know, I tend to, I don't know. Again, I'm not really strict about anything, so I lift the way I want to lift a couple times a week. I try to do a yoga maybe once a week.
Yeah.
Just-
Resources if you don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, Google or YouTube.
Yes.
There
Oh,
are
man.
people, and this is the beauty of YouTube. First of all, they're all
Yes,
free.
They are.
And they have people, for the most part, who are not going to injure you by what they're showing you.
Yeah.
They show good technique with proper form. And if you're watching that, and you don't have to do everything they're doing.
No.
If they're doing 30 reps and you can only do 15, do 15 and then rest the rest of the time and get into the
Yes,
next one.
yes.
And it is your choice on doing that. It's not a live class. You're watching it on YouTube. And man, there's some great workouts on there. If when you were just like, I'm not sure what to do.
And literally also
YouTube.
by time period, you can also say 10-minute
15-minute,
workout or
for sure.
15-minute workout or whatever.
Yep.
You can do whatever with that and anything, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I feel like it's good to talk about these things a little bit, and sometimes we just need to be reminded that we can do it, and we make things harder than they need to be. And
Now, it doesn't matter. You're going to quit in a week if you didn't listen to the first thing I said. And I'm not
Accountability.
kidding. Goals and accountability.
Yeah.
Have a reason for doing this. And most of you do. If you're listening to this and you're like, oh, yeah, you already have a goal. You just got to get it down on paper. But the accountability part, if you are not checking in with somebody every time you do a workout, and if they're not the encouraging type or keeping you accountable, asking you, did you get your workout in? You're not going to last 7 days.
And I'm just going to say with this is like, you can use cancer. Like, it's harder sometimes to find accountability partners for people with cancer because it's really like, you're going to hold me accountable because look at what you've already got on your plate. I get it. You have a lot on your plate if you have cancer, but you can still be accountable to somebody.
You can.
You know what I mean? And it can look different, and you can feel better about yourself.
What works for us a few times in our life is we just make a bet.
Yeah.
We bet something. Here's the bet. We're going to do
wins?
cardio and strength, and she's won every time. Don't worry about that part. But you make a bet, and you make it, something that you don't want to lose, whatever that is. It can be small. It can be 50 cents.
Yeah.
Literally. But we had one bet that lasted a year and a half before I lost.
Yeah.
But it was really simple, but we were accountable and rarely worked out together.
No,
ever.
we don't.
We don't
just
do the same
don't really
workouts.
work out together. That's not us.
But it was just the accountability factor in that, and it's huge. I can't say it enough. Forget everything else you've heard.
Yeah.
You got to have somebody to be accountable for, and it can be anybody, that they'll keep you accountable.
Yep.
Have that.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Go get it. We'll talk to you later.
Let us know how it goes.
Yeah.